Anton, thank you so much for joining me today. Super excited to chat with you. And Anton, you are the founder of Sleepagotchi, and your background's pretty exciting. Okay, you're a repeat founder, done multiple startups before. You were management consulting on the kind of institutional side of Web3, working with banks and insurance and all sorts of kind of more financial applications. And you also have like a pretty storied history with different startups, working with different startups, especially focused on gamification. So you've done like a lot of really interesting stuff. How did you get involved in the world of startups, or how did you first get excited about the world of startups?
Yeah. First of all, Andrew, thanks so much for having me today. Really excited to be here. Big fan of your team and generally your outlook on the space. In terms of like general stuff, I've been kind of fascinated with crypto since 2012. So like still like I would think senior year of high school when I got into Bitcoin, and for very different reasons. I was like very young. I was saying remove the central bank sounds like a good idea without actually understanding what a central bank does. I just saw this cool and kind of remained close in crypto. Yeah, I just saw like inside the tech community from kind of Eastern Europe where I'm from, young people doing very exciting projects and really building products and companies, like scaling them in B2C for like millions of like a million plus user base. This was really exciting and kind of felt like very creative, analytical, and fun work to do.
So wait, take me back to that time in 2012 when you discovered Bitcoin. Because when I discovered Bitcoin, I was reading a Silk Road article, and I was like, oh, that's so interesting. You can buy drugs online, but what's more interesting is that there's this like money that is not connected to a government. That's super weird. How did you discover Bitcoin? And I guess, what was your initial attraction?
So I was kind of deep into internet. I was spending all my free time, basically either on Minecraft servers or Reddit. And I remember reading on Reddit about this magic internet money that came out, and kind of went down the rabbit hole. Bitcoin was still like $5 a piece. I kind of went down the rabbit hole, went to Bitcoin Talk, just kept reading about the stuff, and read all the articles from Gawker and other stuff which were still early on. Kind of see that it's being used for drugs, but also see that it's used for like some poker or some cool transactions happening at the same time. Reading about mining kind of blew my mind, and I actually tried to write my senior thesis in high school on this, but my teacher was like, I don't know what it is. So I would spend like literally half of the thesis explaining what Bitcoin is before like getting into the weeds. And it was, I remember it was like very fun because it was also like impossible to buy. Because like back then when I tried to buy it, I either bought it through Second Life. So Second Life was actually had like a Linden dollar exchange. You could buy for PayPal, you could buy Linden dollars, and then or a credit card, and then you can buy Bitcoin then. Or there was local Bitcoins, and you would send to some people from from Romania or Bulgaria, for example, like Western Union, like no idea to whom, and then get for like a 20% commission the Bitcoins. It was very hard to get it back then. I remember like, oh my God, the price is like $5 a Bitcoin and I'm spending $6. I'm getting ripped, So of course it was like, still a high school student money. So I didn't make like a absorbent amount, and it's actually hard to hold even a 10x return, especially when you're young and you're thinking, oh my God, like there's no way it's going to go up. But it was like a cool experience, kind of seeing where the market ended up in 10 years. It's crazy, kind of from this very niche community on Reddit on Bitcoin Talk, just specifically focused on kind of this decentralized money, to really seeing it expand towards like, decentralized infrastructure space, NFT space, really the art space, the gamification stuff as well, because I'm like a big gaming fan as well. It's just really see to kind of how far the space really went from this very tiny space on Reddit, Bitcoin forum, and the Bitcoin Talk forum.
That's awesome. Okay, so you said that when you were growing up, it was very entrepreneurial. You saw friends and people that you knew kind of building cool startups and working on exciting projects. What was the impetus for you to be like, all right, I'm gonna do what they're doing. I'm gonna go in startups. I'm gonna start building some stuff, and then building on top of that, I noticed that, some of your history was kind of connected to gamification. Like, I think that's a really cool trend that we're seeing here. Tell me about that as well.
So when I sort of like left college, it was like around summer 17. So this was just the time when the first crypto applications were popping up. So kind of this is the ICO, I think the ICO days, right? And I remember like some of the projects like Brave, the basic attention token from Brave kind of was raising around the time, and other ones. And I started seeing some projects pop up that I kind of liked myself, like seeing them on Reddit, but seeing them like not doing like correct community engagement or correct marketing. So then I just reached out to them like in in Reddit DMs or LinkedIn or Twitter DMs, LinkedIn DMs. Hey, I like your project. Let me help you. Like just at least post you like guys on Bitcoin Talk, like because I like what you're doing. There were like some custody solutions. There were some like nonprofit applications of crypto, which I kind of really liked at that time. So I became like a community manager / marketer in those early days, and then I noticed that, oh, actually, there's like this whole audience that is prepared to do something for a token airdrop, like tweeting about something, filming YouTube videos very quickly. Rather than like being like a community manager for many startups, we just decided to focus. Okay, let me maybe focus on this niche about this token / airdrop campaign management software. So then around like November 17, we launched Bounty Guru around the time, which was one of the first kind of those bounty / token airdrop management platforms. So kind of stumbled by accident almost, like always was curious about this, and then started seeing, oh, I can actually be useful. I've been in the space for 5 years. I know Bitcoin Talk and Reddit. I can maybe be useful to those projects that like it. Started seeing that I was useful to this project. Started seeing this niche inside, token airdropping, how successful it was sometimes in like getting people to adopt it. Right, kind of early on, like people would like have a signature on Bitcoin Talk. Like you would post something in Bitcoin Talk, and then you would have like a signature, like a SC symbol, like stuff about the project, and all the QLs were like on Bitcoin Talk back then, right? So that was like a cool, and you needed like a platform. So for that to manage all that. So kind of proud to say that we were there first. I mean, the business is out of business, so kind of the market, I think, dwindled out around 2019. This is when we also decided to cease operations, but for the 2 years we were running, we were like a good kind of cash flow profitable business with no outside investors.
It's very cool. Okay, and then I think you worked at Duolingo, right?
Yeah.
And you were in product and really helping on the gamification of that platform. And it's really cool to see that, because that kind of goes into what you're building today, Sleepagotchi. But tell me about like your background in building product and how you think about building product, especially as it pertains to gamifying, making it like a fun experience for the actual users.
Yeah, it's a good thing. So I've been like a gamer all my life, and I sort of came to the US to like postgrad, and decided, okay, I want to work in gaming. I want to try and game. I've been in crypto for a long time. Let me try gaming. So I kind of flew to Activision Blizzard and to Riot Games. Got some offers from those companies, and then I ended up on Duolingo, because I thought, what a cool way! Like it's like actually like combining a passion for good. Kind of ended up spending there, during my postgrad, like some time, and was lucky enough to see Sleepagotchi also pop up during the same time as well. And actually, one of the first commits came from the VP of product there, so Jem Kansu, which gave me like also confidence. Oh, like I mean, if the CPO of Duolingo thinks it's a cool idea, maybe I should continue building it as well. All right. Yeah. No matter the traction as well, right? I would say that I worked before Duolingo. I also worked at Gizmart, which was one of the fastest growing European companies in mobile, like in general, but they were like focused on mobile, and they were gamifying piano learning, and they were gamifying music as well. So actually the core team of Sleepagotchi is actually the core team of the piano product from the Gizmart team that made like 70 million lifetime revenue, and kind of made it really fun to play piano. And what we think about gaming is that, what we think about product is that, gaming is super fun, right? It can be addictive. Sometimes it can be so addictive you spend way too much time on that. So what if you spend some of this energy, some of those tools towards actually like causing positive change inside people? Like what Duolingo does, for example, to get you to learn Spanish or French or other languages. And that's what we try to do with Sleepagotchi as well. And we actually take it one step further. We actually think of Sleepagotchi more of a game than as a like tech product, than a consumer product like Duolingo. There are many reasons for that, but the main reason being is that, we are focused on sleep. There's only that much stuff you can do with sleep, really. It's like, okay, well, you go to sleep, this is your quality, this is how much you slept. In Duolingo, you can like learn literally unlimited amount of languages, and also unlimited combination of languages. For us, we are much limited towards the sleep space, but because of that, we need to focus more on the gaming element. And we are focused so much on the gaming element that we become a fully fledged game in that perspective. So that was a cool, I would say, difference, at least to those companies, is that we take gamification, we have a background in gamification of piano, of language learning, but then after like starting Sleepagotchi, we realized, oh, actually we need to lean into gaming much more heavily.
Very cool. Okay, so if you're at a party and no one knows anything about startups or crypto or anything really, they're just like, and you're telling them, hey, I'm building Sleepagotchi. How do you describe like what Sleepagotchi is?
Yeah, so I'm telling them, no idea about crypto as well. Okay, though. So So Sleepagotchi is a game for sleep. It's a game that really incentivizes you to improve your sleep schedule. Every morning you wake up, you get a reward. You get one sleep box, as we call it, with a random reward. If you slept okay, not on time, we give you 2 if you really hit your targets and you hit your metrics. So we then you are able to build your own world. You're able to build your own character inside Sleepagotchi. And the better you sleep, the more you follow your schedule. Actually, the cooler your world becomes, the cooler your character becomes, just the better the experience gets.
That's awesome. Okay, so tell me about the genesis of the idea, because I think that there's so many different directions you can gamify some positive activity. But why did you settle on sleep being like the thing you wanted to focus on?
Yeah, good question. Contrary to maybe some initial opinion that I never had problems with sleep before I started Sleepagotchi. Actually, I started having sleep problems with sleep after I started Sleepagotchi. Right? Note to self, But basically, I think 2 inspirations, right? One was Duolingo, of course, but the second one was Steppen. Kind of what Steppen did to get people out, to get people moving. And I saw, I was still kind of in business school for postgrad, and I started seeing a lot of my normie friends talking about Steppen, onboarding into crypto, creating Solana wallets. The partners of my friends doing this as well, who had even less idea about Web3. Of course, there was a big financial incentive attached to it, around the time. But I saw it wow, there's actually cool stuff. You can actually use this technology to develop some incentives towards a positive behavior change. We thought, okay, well, let's learn some of the lessons in terms of sustainability, in terms of token design, in terms of NFT design. But that was cool, how fast you can grow and how much of a positive change you can do. So then we started looking, okay, well, so now Steppen exists and 15 other projects that are called Walk to Earn. What else can we do? And actually, the initial idea was actually let's gamify water bottle intake. So water intake. So Sleepagotchi started as a smart water bottle idea. I was close to the MIT campus, and I thought, well, maybe we'll go to MIT Media Lab, create a cool smart water bottle, collect some NFTs as you drink water. So we started building the product at the same time doing custom research, moving very fast and very lean in the time. And we realized that the people who track water are usually young female persons, and they don't game and they don't know crypto. So it's a very tough sell, right? And the second sell, if you try to somebody inside crypto to start drinking water, there is a big big pivot attached, in the sense that you need to get a water bottle. You actually need to stop drinking out of a glass. You actually need to start drinking from the smart water bottle, and it's or log it, and it's really pain, and it's a new behavior to learn, tracking water. And then we look, okay, what is some of the stuff? Diet tracking, how can we track diet? Oh, well, super easy to cheat. I just say what I eat. Second thing, okay, well, actually, let's look into sleep. With the water bottle, the problem was that you need to get a water bottle, you need to start tracking it. But every single person already tracks sleep with an alarm clock, at least. So alarm clock is the most basic sleep. So we think, okay, well, literally every single person in the world tracks sleep already. So we don't need to learn to teach this behavior. So then we pivoted using the same app that we started doing towards this wearable idea. We then kind of did a quick pivot and said, okay, let's do it for sleep. And we saw some cool engagement patterns happening for Sleepagotchi that made our retention very sticky and very high, even before adding any of the pre-components in there.
What was it called before? What with the water? Was it Watergotchi?
So it was actually called Thirst. Was all caps. And it was called because the website was available, trythirst.com. It was available back then, so we thought it was available, let's call it this time. Yeah.
That'd also be a really good app or a name for a dating app.
True. Maybe
that'll be your next thing.
Maybe next thing,
Day to earn, yeah.
Day to earn, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so how does Sleepagotchi work? If you download it, take me through the process of actually where you download it, and then actually how it functions.
Yeah, so it's available in the App Store and Play Store. Right now, we're kind of still building out a lot of the core functionalities, and there's cool new features to come inside Sleepagotchi. But the way it works right now is you install Sleepagotchi, you sync it with your Apple Health data or your Health Connect data on Android, which means you can track your sleep without wearable device. If you don't use your phone at night, the device thinks you're asleep in sleep mode. We trust you on that. We give you a little less points, but we trust you on that. So you sync it with your Apple Health data. and you start opening up different worlds, which we designed inside Sleepagotchi. We have like a Japan world, we have kind of a beach world, we have conspiracy themed, funny conspiracy theory themed world as well. So the idea is that when you wake up in the morning, you start collecting items for those different worlds. And the more items you collect, the more worlds you can open, and the more points you get inside Sleepagotchi, so that you can actually be able to afford more stuff for your worlds inside Sleepagotchi. And I think we are currently working on two other loops, kind of that you can actually control your character, and you can actually have more agency, so that the better you sleep, the more stuff your character can do. And the second point, that we would like to add customization towards those worlds. So in a sense that if I have a world, if I get some items, I can actually have more stuff, customize it fully, and be able to flex it to my friends. It's like, look how well I slept. Look at my kind of cozy place.
Is it fair to say it's kind of like an Animal Crossing? Because Animal Crossing, the objective is really just like to build a cool house, I suppose. There's not really like a major objective besides that. Is that, because I think with Sleepagotchi, it's kind of similar, where like the objective is to kind of build a really cool house, essentially, right? And like really cool interior and things like that.
That's correct. I would say Animal Crossing is top three game names that we mentioned inside our company, both inside the company, out and outside the company. We like their art style. Their art style is very cozy and is universally loved, both in Asia and in kind of Europe/US, America. This is where we go also, where we take our style, kind of cute, cozy, kawaii style, like in Japan. And we are adding elements so that because it's not a very angry PvP game, right? It's more like of a casual vibesy game, let's so call it. So that's why Animal Crossing is indeed it's like Animal Crossing for sleep, or Duolingo for sleep, inspired by Animal Crossing.
I like that. So, I've noticed that I feel like you guys take extreme care in the sounds and the assets that are in the world, and like they look good, and like you guys spend clearly like a lot of effort on these minor details that I think most people I don't think most people would like really notice. So why are you guys kind of Steve Jobsing here and spending so much time on these like minute details that probably most people won't like notice in extreme detail?
Good question. Our initial part is that we still stand to is that when we're looking at what sort of art style you would like to generate for Sleepagotchi, because at this core, it has a very strong Web3 element in the form of NFTs. And we looked at other projects that were around that time, and a lot of them looked similar. It's either 2D pixel art or sort of, not super high production 2D or 3D. And we wanted to stand out in that market. And we started seeing that I think Klenosaur started popping up, and some other of those like 3D projects, not 2D, because 3D is more expensive to do than 2D, and it's harder to do. And then we thought, okay, this is going to be our competitive advantage in Web3. And then what ended up happening, we were like, okay, actually, now it's our competitive advantage in Web2 as well. So in the sense that indeed we spend so much time into art that we think this is really the advantage of the company, both in the Web3 and Web2, which will ultimately help us, acquire, like it generates like a wow effect. It's like, wow, it's actually very good graphics. And we are actually limited now by the performance of the mobile devices rather than our own capabilities.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay. It's funny because like people think, at least for me, like product is like, okay, product is got to make the best product possible in terms of like its usability and functionality, whatever. But then there's like this added level that is almost like it doesn't add to the bottom line necessarily, but it's like putting in that exact sound right here and putting in the detail of the pillow on, the bed or whatever. Like adding that is almost that extra oomph that make the product like very, very, I don't know, polished, I suppose. And it's just cool to see because you're right. I don't think that there's not a lot of companies, even in Web 2, that kind of that do that really. So it was just something I wanted to point out.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we take great care in that. And, indeed that, that you say that maybe people sometimes don't notice the details, but some people like a small proportion does notice, and then they become kind of fans of the product. And the two is that if you add like a lot of details, you actually start. Okay, it's going to sound cliche, but you actually start seeing like the soul inside Sleepagotchi. You actually see that people who build it, like they took like a craftsmanship approach, and this helps our culture as well, right? Because like we are also like attentive to detail. It really helps us inside the team as well to kind of the culture of actually we take care, we make sure that everything is good, and then it comes natural. I think now to our team to kind of really take care.
That's a great. I was trying to figure out the word because I was like, product for me is like cut and dry of like, okay, most ROI possible, but then the soul that you can't really quantify that in terms of like how to make money on the soul. But I think it's a great term to use in terms of like what you guys are aiming to, or what you guys are building now. Okay, so the collecting items, like what type of items can people collect, and what are they trying to build towards?
So right now they're able to collect one of the 5 items, like a bed, a poster, a rug, and a reference to rug pools inside crypto. They are able to collect like windows and some wardrobes, some shelves. Then they're able to put them into rooms, and then they're able to open up ultimately new worlds inside Sleepagotchi. This is in the current version. We are also working so that you can collect new characters. So the symbol of the mascot of Sleepagotchi is like a green kawaii dinosaur, or like Godzilla. And we would like to add more characters as NFTs, kind of very limited, but also adding some, once you are also able to build your own worlds, kind of adding those unique items that only you can have inside your world to really make it feel special and unique to you. So those items also be on the chain.
Have you noticed any interesting or like unusual user behavior since you guys have launched? Anything that's like popped out? You're like, oh, that's weird or cool.
Yeah. So it's a good question. So we started Sleepagotchi, like, the theme was like it's an evening theme because it's about sleep. And then we noticed that actually people use it in the morning. We designed it to use it in the morning because this is when you wake up. This is actually when you check your sleep score. If you use like an Aura or Fitbit, this is when you sleep score. So it's called Sleepagotchi, but actually use it in the morning. And there are like activity spikes at 7, 8, 8:30, 8, 10 a.m. You can actually see it in the data. People are waking up and opening Sleepagotchi. But what's cool also is that we started seeing that people open it up before Instagram, before WhatsApp, before email in the morning, before messages. And this was a unique insight for us because we were like, okay, well, in this unique, if you think about this unique attention economy that you have in the world, is like Instagram is trying to compete for mine and your time. TikTok, Fortnite, Netflix, all the games, crypto exchanges, everything tries to compete for attention. And let's say if you have your, free time from like 6 until 10 p.m. for like maybe the majority of the population, it's a very red battlefield there. But you thought, okay, well, we have those like 2 minutes in the morning when you wake up that are like sort of free. So let's identify this as a unique version to market and really keep pushing for those 2 minutes. Those are the 2 minutes we identified in the morning. So we need to get them right. And who really competes for those 2 minutes in the morning? Like nobody like has it like, okay, I'm going to compete for those 2 minutes in the morning. So because of that, we're able to build like a good routine, a good habit in our users. That's so that they open up in the morning and they then come back during the day as well. But they started the day with Sleepagotchi. They started thinking about sleep and Sleepagotchi as they started the day. So kind of this insight that you don't have to compete with the big guys, with the big games for attention. If you just identify, this is our attention spot. This is what we want to take.
That's so crazy that, I don't know. I always associate unhealthy activity with like the most fun and the most used. And so seeing that there is an application like Sleepagotchi that people are opening before the guilty pleasure of like TikTok or Instagram or Twitter or whatever is pretty exciting. It like bodes well for like people because maybe there's going to be more apps in the future that are gamified and they're positive activities versus just kind of this more, I don't want to say negative, but not like value add activities.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that I think just in general, if you think about it, is that literally if you think about product, every single product that you use, some product management team is going to have a function for maximizing time inside the app, like as a core KPI. I think for Netflix is hours spent inside watching stuff on Netflix. For Instagram and TikTok is minutes spent per day, because the more minutes you spend, the more ads you see, etc., etc. games similar. The more times you spend inside game, the better kind of you monetize. So there's incentive for every single gaming and product function in the world to maximize for attention. Sometimes add stuff that may be net negative, for a person. We think actually, let's try to minimize our attention span in a way. So kind of let's approach it differently. Let's actually not try to actually maximize this attention. Yes, it's gonna hit some of the top line numbers, but that even if you spend let's say not an hour inside Sleepagotchi per day, but actually 5 minutes, because you don't churn out of Sleepagotchi because it's a sleep tracker, it's not a game you get bored of, actually you still end up losing in the aggregate. Think about it on the course of a lifetime for a very significant amount of time. So 5 minutes a day is actually 30 hours per year.
Wow, very cool. All right, so what is the 2024 vision for Sleepagotchi? And then what is the 10-year grand vision for Sleepagotchi?
2024, we are releasing those two major features we are working on. One is kind of the character collection / character RPG side of things, so you can level up your characters and send them on adventures with your friends. And two is building out the customization tool to allow you to build your own worlds to maximize them. So those are heavy features. They take time to develop. They take time to develop right. Once we have them, we are adding Web3 components as well to allow kind of this unique ownership, but also to allow some users to, as much as kind of play to earn maybe gets hate today as the kind of the thesis. We believe that this is through NFTs, we can kind of achieve a very sustainable model in actually to earn elements inside the app as well. So we're going to release those two features. We're going to release on-chain elements as well. And then the idea is that it starts, line goes up after that, as it already does itself. 10 years vision is 20 million daily active users. Millions of people start the day with Sleepagotchi. People use it together with their families. Children and parents play together. Wives and husbands, girlfriends and boyfriends, partners, because often synchronizing sleep activity is a family thing. Because you want your household to be in a schedule, not one person to watch TV until 2 a.m. and then another going to bed at 11. So it's kind of an app used by millions and an app that you don't churn off. So it's like Spotify. Once you into the system, you want to continue using it for a long time. And then because also Sleepagotchi, we built AAA graphic art style. We would like to build IP on top of it, I think you see a lot of stuff inside the NFTs and the Web3 world kind of attempting at building new IP. Kind of Pudgy Penguins is a good example, Kleiner, as I mentioned. I think for us, if you start your day with Sleepagotchi, it's you start seeing the art style, you start seeing the character. It's actually a pretty good way to build IP and character recognition. So, maybe in 10 years, amusement park, not Disneyland or Legoland, but, Sleepagotchi land.
That's awesome. That's so cool. So, okay, so when you think about the evolution of Sleepagotchi, do you think more on the gamification side and more game-like, or going to be more social and more social features added, or I don't know, more like a health tracker, kind of when you're thinking about the future, what directions do you lean? And maybe it's more than one.
Good question. So I would say definitely you can think about Sleepagotchi, and when we did the fundraising for us as well, when we were speaking to investors, an often question we would get so are you an app or are you a game? And the question is, it's a spectrum. It's complicated, and then you decide where you're going to be. All right. So if you think about some sleep tracker, this is an app. All right. If you think something as Call of Duty, this is a game. If you think about Duolingo, it's somewhere in the middle, but closer towards an app. Right. They have game elements like leaderboards and other stuff, but still close to the app side. For us, because we think about as closer to the game side. We have a huge app component. We have a huge health component. But the way that we think about the business model for us, the way we think about creating pipeline is like a game development company. And thus we are like a game for sleep. And we're actually inside App Store, we're in the health and wellness category. As another unique advantage, we hope, kind of it's easier to be higher ranking in those categories than in games. Yeah. So kind of transfer question on the spectrum closer towards the game.
All right. So this is kind of a macro question. Gamification, I think, is happening. It's basically happening in all sorts of different aspects. What are your thoughts about that? Because it's not everything is kind of being gamified in my mind, almost, right? What are the pros and cons?
I think the cons is you can see some examples in trading. I think in Robinhood, they often get criticized for making like stock trading and too much fun. Like kind of users start to get maybe sometimes start to feel less risk, because the experience is so gamified. I think in general it's a good thing, but I think one notice with that, those gamification apps try to take the Duolingo approach, like, oh, we're gonna add like a gamification feature, like a streak, or we're gonna add a leaderboard, or we're gonna get something else, and then your product becomes a little bit of a like a Frankenstein of different features from gamification, and then some app stuff that you have. For us, what we realized, and it wasn't the first day we realized, it actually took us like a few months of development before we realized that actually we need to think ourselves as a game development company. We need to think about the experience as a whole, because there's only so much stuff you can do with Sleep. We need to build like a game. And then kind of when I kind of asked the Duolingo team, I think the CEO specifically said that we don't have a DNA of a gaming company. We are a tech company, because gaming companies, they think differently. Kind of not the product manager is the number one thing, but a game designer is the kind of the most important function from a product perspective, let's say. So that's, I think, a lot of people are trying to build gamification just like add-ons. Whereas for us, we think, okay, we actually need to build a game and then add the elements inside, rather than, okay, we have an app, let's just keep adding streaks and leaderboards and it's gonna work itself out.
Yeah, and also I think it really depends on what type of behavior you're gamifying, right? Because you touch on Robinhood, and Robinhood is very interesting because, like, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with having a gamified app for trading. It's funny because it's like the culture around that. It's like Wall Street Bets, which is like the culture around the Robinhood app is like really encourages like people going 100x long and like doing crazy things, right? So it's not necessarily the app, in my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's more of like that culture, because then you could have gamified things that are also not great. I don't know, not considered great activity like gambling or whatever, but that the culture is not necessarily one of like, hey, check out my big loss. Like, look how funny that is. Like, hey, it doesn't matter if you lose, 100K or whatever, right? So yeah, I think it really depends on like what it is that it's being gamified. It depends on like, the number of pros and cons that come from that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I was part of the GameStop in terms of 2021. It was so much fun, kind of, seeing all the memes and being part of it and reading the news that also started on Reddit and then just blew up. But I agree. I think the community depends on a lot. And in terms of gamification, like, I think there are that many like, negative examples other than maybe gambling. Maybe you can also say that some games make the gamification part too much. Like they really add too many bonuses, too many, like they really try to not just spend your time there, but start at some point wasting your time there. So I think this can be like also like an easy one to overcome.
Totally. All right. So I want to talk about team building, because, you're a founder, and building a team is just, it's definitely not easy. It sounds like you had a really awesome kind of experience with the previous company you were working at. You were able to bring on some people from that. But tell me about like, how do you think about hiring? How do you think about team building? And yeah, how do you go about that?
Two things. So definitely the core of the team are people I worked before. We started, the core of the team is the people I worked before, like at Gizmart, for example, or I knew before because I kind of saw them in work or saw the projects and they were somehow close in my network. And two, we also like to hire in teams. So in a sense that if you brought somebody from a team, for example, our designer and engineer work on a team together before, and they actually come along and they're kind of well worked together. So this is an advantage for us. The second one is that I myself from Eastern Europe. So, there's an Eastern European gaming mafia. So Poland produces The Witcher and Cyberpunk. I'm actually in Poland right now, but I'm from Belarus originally. Belarus has World of Tanks, war gaming, and a lot of like free-to-play games in the hyper casual genre. And the cost of living is lower inside Eastern Europe. And because I kind of am in the region, speak the language, have some network here, it's easier for me to really see how can we kind of see like amazing talent, which comes at a very reasonable sort of expense to us. And that's why we identified that like, okay, this is like our like key strength. I'm in the US, but let's maybe not try to hire too many like artists or engineers. Let's really founder on this unique founder advantage, which I have, that I'm being close to the region where like COL is low, but there's a big technical culture and a big gaming culture there.
All right. So what do you think about, again, speaking of being a founder, like the trials and tribulations of being a founder. I think that people often don't talk too much about that, because people are like, oh, stop complaining, like it's supposed to be hard, whatever. But what are some of the, I don't know, just general ups and downs of being a founder that you have to go through daily?
Yeah, I mean, definitely like a roller coaster, in a sense that I don't think it will be something new, but just like, this meme is like, we are back, so over. It can happen like multiple times in a week, right? You kind of have this idea, oh, this feature is going to work great, or this is going to work cool, and then it doesn't work out, or vice versa. Or, in terms of like, when you're doing like fundraising, right, as well, because you will hear no quite often, but you will come very close to hearing yes from the same people who are going to say no to you. So you kind of at first like, oh, like we're going to raise money, and then, oh, we're not going to you're going to raise money, etc. So kind of there's like this roller coaster as well attached, because there's large uncertainty involved. There's large uncertainty involved, like, will the company be operational or not, like, and sometimes. And they're also like, because effectively, like, what is cool about being a founder is that we are backed like by venture capital funds, so we are incentivized to kind of take a big, bold bet, and we are innovating, and we are actually like creating something new, like a product category that didn't exist before. We are not like copying another game. We are not kind of building, oh, this is going to be like a match-3 game in a slightly different art style. No, we're like, okay, this is going to be a new category. We're going to be building this. And there are so many challenges that you have to solve for us. Like, Android, suddenly Google released a Health Connect version, but doesn't work great. Half of our users don't get correct data. Okay, so let's turn it off. Oh, actually, Google fixed it 6 months after the release. Or you're working something in art and design, and you start realizing that your pipeline production won't scale. Like, in a sense, oh, you would like to achieve this art style, but then you can't pop up enough content before it goes out. And there are all those like many micro things that are like annoying almost to an extent, and they're hard to see from before you start, actually, like only when you start digging into things. But it's a lot of fun. And the third point, I also work like in an extremely corporate environment. So after the startup, during the crypto winter, I went to management consulting. Very structured. There's a playbook. You have a problem, you speak to the manager. You speak, or you speak to the partner on the project, or you do something different. And how do you even get into like consulting or banking? Well, there is like literally so many resources on Reddit, online. Here's what you do. Here are the tests they're gonna do. Here's how you can land the job. Here's how you can get a promotion. This path has been crossed 1,000 times. For being a founder for a new product, there's literally no playbook. The only playbook is other founders, yourself, and podcasts, frankly, because this is when founders also speak, and investors as well. So that's why we like investors who like, I personally like interacting with investors who like build before and have this experience, because they know like this stuff will keep happening, which is unexpected, the unknown unknowns, let's say so. But it's inherently, I feel like, much more rewarding than like a rigid journey where you know what's going to happen next.
That's awesome. Okay, so, all right, so Web3 as it pertains to consumer products, how do you think about how Web3 can strengthen or hurt a consumer-oriented product?
I think that the space for this attention economy that I described before became so competitive that it's large gaming companies today, they stop launching game. For example, Playtika, a year ago announced, we're not going to, 3 billion market cap company, 6 major titles in production. We're going to stop developing new games. We can't acquire users profitably after the 2021 Apple privacy concern. So literally, it's very hard to launch consumer apps. Supercell, last game released in 2018, almost going to be 6 years soon since the last title. So because you have TikTok, you have Instagram, you have Fortnite, you have all those massive franchises. So how do you get attention? One way is you add some financial incentives into the product to really incentivize your early adopters to start growing. It's like, this classic example. Oh, imagine you're one of the first early Uber users. You actually took the risk, got into a stranger's car, but the only upside you got was a $5 voucher for an extra trip, right? So this is a big distribution hack, and this is what you see happening. The thing, of course, is once you have financial incentives, there are 2 issues coming up. A, can you identify your product being used only for financial incentives or for actual value? And B, it's also easy to overdo the financial incentives, or they lose out of control. Some of the projects that have been like accused in the Twitter space to be like Ponzi-like, actually, pretty sure the founders had no expectation for them to do that. It's just the issue that if you actually put a token out there and the whole economy is completely open, other forces can decide whether it becomes kind of this, up and down cycle rather than you. So I think it's easy to overdo those financial incentives for bootstrapping and incentivizing community.
All right. So what do you think about the future of entertainment? Because I feel like we're heading in this world where there's a confluence of different technologies. It's like Web3, there's AI, there's VR, AR, and there's gamification. There's all these kind of cool things happening together. And I think the future of entertainment, broadly, entertainment is like a broad category of like gaming and collecting and all sorts of different categories. Where do you think that's headed?
I think they're just in so many different directions. A few ones that I'm excited most about is probably won't be actually Gen AI. The reason why being in Web3, because you spend so much time online, you spend so much time in different apps, so that in some sense, economy is gonna evolve inside a game, inside different games. When I was young, I played a lot of Minecraft on those early servers, and we did like a lot of soft currency and hard currency trading and item trading as well, and it was so cool to do it. But then you can't do anything with it. Like you can't sell it to somebody else. You can't share it with your friends sometimes easily. And simply put, if you spend so much time online inside those virtual worlds, people are not going to have those goggles from Apple, like probably in 5-10 years down the line. It starts making sense to actually adding some artificial scarcity into the world, so that people really start feeling, so that the digital world feels more real than it is. So I think that Web3 will probably play a big part in where we are heading in the next 5 to 10 years.
It's really cool. Okay, so it's almost like right now the digital world is just kind of like this entirely separate thing, and it's not lifelike whatsoever. And what you're saying is no, we're headed towards a future where it's going to be almost more lifelike. Still, like it's going to be really fun and amped up to level 10, but it's going to be more lifelike and more realistic, if you will. Is that kind of like where you think we're headed?
Yeah, absolutely. It will be like on 10x, as you're saying, because I think games are inspired by real life. All the stuff that you do is basically fishing and hunting and collecting birds and interacting with people, but online in just some funny, peculiar ways. And there are just so many ways that you can mix and match things. We are mixing match sleep and gaming. Some other people in the space are matching, streaming and this VTuber, right? You're mixing and match the specific culture of anime and kind of virtual characters with streaming, and just so much cool stuff that you can do inside games but still is inspired by real life.
That's awesome. All right, Anton, are you ready for the closing questions?
Let's go.
All right. What are you bearish on? It could be anything.
What I'm bearish on? Well, I'm a little bit bearish on the AI space in the sense that it just reminds me a little bit of the crypto 2022 summer. It's just, so I did my MBA in the US, and there's always this joke that there's like the lagging indicator for the downfall, well, not the downfall, for the slowdown of a sector is the interest of MBAs, because MBA students tend to like to follow the hype. So in my summer, it was everybody went to Web3. People worked in different L1s, L2s, etc. Maybe 50 people worked inside Web3. In my year, only 3 people work there full time. But then you started seeing that people really want to now build into AI. Like everybody speaks about AI as well. And I think there's definitely going to be the future. But I think similar, like, there's this Gartner hype cycle. And this probably go through something as well, because expectations are just so high, so sky high. There's probably nowhere to go but down maybe in the coming years. But over the long run, still be like as transformative. But I think Web3 kind of went through the same cycles that AI is going right now as well.
Wow, awesome, love that. All right, besides Sleepagotchi, what are you bullish on?
I would say gaming in general. So I as a category, because I think that there is this project management function, like as jobs to be done. Project management function, jobs to be done. Okay, what are my jobs to be done? Oh, I need to get from point A to B, Uber. Oh, I need to stay in a house, Airbnb. Oh, I need to upload my photos and share with friends, Instagram. And at some point, the jobs to be done are solved. Not solved, but like they're solved by using current technology. There are only so many problems I have in the real world. There are only so many physical problems that I have, right? But ultimately, the gaming side of things, which is in a way the second reality, this is an infinite canvas. And that's why I think that gaming is an exciting space for founders to be in, because a lot of the stuff has been solved in a sense by the original wave in the 2010s by like adding mobile, etc. But then the gaming things is gonna produce infinite opportunities because tastes always change, and ultimately gaming is in this like interesting space. It's both an art and both a business, and probably no game is going to be here 100 years from now, but probably hotel chains will be. But then it also provides just like repeated opportunities for new people to do something cool inside the consumer space.
That's super interesting. So it's like the gamification layer on all of our applications and things that we use has not yet been built. It's like that is like wide open space.
And yeah, exactly. And I think that so in the jobs to be done framework, let's say there's a job to be done. I want to have fun, and this and because humans get bored of stuff very quickly, old solutions will always go stale, and the new solutions will pick up, right? So this is kind of solving the problem of fun is probably the hardest problem to solve, and also the one that will always keep giving new opportunities to entrepreneurs.
That's super cool. Very cool. All right. What is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Start early, and do not be afraid to start early inside this founder's journey. I'm very grateful that I was able to work in corporate as well, but because I kind of had this initial experience from 2017 to 2019, running this first startup, I'm able to live with uncertainty and be able to manage it better than maybe a person starting first time. And there's only like so many benefits of a network, of expertise, before the speed of iteration and whether you can build out ship a product and see how users interact with it. So I would just encourage, start young, but also kind of the younger you start, actually, then by the age you're 30, you can actually have a much more entrepreneurship experience than other people. And then because when you're like 40 plus, there are many other factors that actually work against you in starting a company. You're used to many resources inside large companies to create some stuff. So that's why you see some of those companies struggling with like 20-plus-year-old veterans from industry giants.
That's awesome. Basically just like go for it is kind of the message. Just like,
yeah. In a way, yes. Yeah.
I love that. All right. Last question. What motivates you?
Impact, in a sense that you have an idea, you start getting people around this idea, and then you start seeing users use it, and you're, changing the world on a very small scale. But I would say it's very motivational because this is something, you're inventing something new that hasn't existed before, and you are literally kind of making like a splash for yourself. So when I work like in consulting and corporate, great experience for communication, for other stuff, but you don't feel the impact. You're like kind of, but then here you just feel that everything is changing, super fun, talking with other founders. I think you as a VC have one of the coolest jobs as well ever, kind of seeing the future and trying to predict it full-time basis. I just think it's just such a huge privilege to be able to work on something that hasn't existed before in the world, and hoping that it's going to work.
That's amazing. Awesome. Anton, thank you so much. This was incredible. If people want to find out more about yourself, find out more about Sleepagotchi, where should they go?
Sleepagotchi.com is the best research. So it's sleep, and then agotchi like Avigotchi or Tamagotchi.
Amazing. Thank you, Anton.
Thank you, Andrew. Great having here. Had a lot of fun.